So one opponent of curiosity might be something like solidarity in a political sense.
Mm,
So when we're doing politics, when people are doing organizing political movements, they want to bring people together. They want to align them. They call for people to stand shoulder to shoulder to for a cause. And they don't want to have a whole lot of dissenting individuals kind of like on the edges. They want to like show solidarity. There could be things that just they don't agree about, right? But what
sure.
makes them a group is the fact that they had this agreement, this area of agreement. So solidarity is kind of a claim on people that says, don't ask too many questions. That class you described, that teacher just saying in that class, basically a certain level of solidarity had been achieved, she was assuming or claiming in advance. And we don't want that disrupted by the question because we want to focus our commitment. Do you see solidarity as the right, is that the right opponent for curiosity? And if so,
Hmm.
are we distinguishing political movements and political ideals and political norms from something like intellectual ones and scholarly ones? Is that the do you see the opposition that way?
It's a really interesting question. I don't think that solidarity and curiosity are mutually exclusive. I'm not sure if it's I think it is a good I think it's a good counter argument. I think that solidarity has an immense amount of value. I think that's how things get done is by people in solidarity, marching toward justice. But I think that solidarity, you can have solidarity and intellectual curiosity at the same time, I think. Like for example, the icebreaker question, like who would you sit down and have a meal with if you could, like anybody alive or dead? I used to answer Eichmann as the person I would sit down with, not because like I'm Jewish, right? Like I have no, sense that Eichmann is going to convince me to Nazi ideology, but I'm really curious about his idea of he was just following orders and therefore he's innocent of, of moral culpability or even of legal culpability. And I think that's a fascinating idea. And I'm super willing to sit down and have a conversation with him about it, knowing full well my boundary, which is I'm never going to be an anti Semite. And I think that that idea of solidarity and curiosity in conflict is what really challenges the university right now and challenges cultural cohesion as well. This notion that in order to be in solidarity, we can't even ask questions about the other side. I don't think that that's true. I think that we still have to ask questions, but that doesn't have to undermine our commitment to our own cause.
Nice. So in the Eichmann example, then, so you're a committed person with a certain views on these topics, but the curiosity part. So what space is there for curiosity? I'm wondering. It's like it's bounded already, right? You're not by the very example you chose. You're not going to become a Nazi or see the world the way Nazis do. It's impossible for you.
Right.
So is that a certain kind of curiosity? A kind of is that a constrained form of curiosity? What's the fuel that makes curiosity go? Can you just say a little bit more? Like, maybe I should ask it this way: are you serious? Would you actually choose Eichmann? Is that the truth?
I mean, maybe there are better, but I haven't thought about the question in a while. So if you're saying would I choose Eichmann over anybody else, I'm not sure, but I would sit down with Eichmann. I seriously would, and I think that this is curiosity contrasted with open-mindedness in a sense. I think people talk about open-mindedness as like being open-minded to changing your mind. I think it's possible too to like it's a semantic difference to have open-mindedness where you're not willing to change your mind. But I'm talking about a type of curiosity that maybe the boundary is changing your mind. That I think that there's still value in, I can appreciate to take maybe a slightly less controversial example. I'm pro choice. I could sit with somebody who's pro life and understand really deeply why they've come to that conclusion, respect their process and, their experiences, and still not change my mind about abortion. I could say that's my red line. I won't change my mind, but I've learned something about somebody. I've learned something about the world, about the way that many people see the world. And I think that there's kind of inherent value there. And there's no need to go that next step to change your mind. And this vulnerability that I think people feel that maybe if they ask a question, they might have to change their mind. We can disabuse people of that if we promote a form of curiosity where you don't actually have to change your mind.
So curiosity can be bounded by some sort of fixed points, but it can also be this sort of free flowing, almost a wild virtue in that it's a disruptor of the ordinary. And
Yeah.
curiosity has this characteristic of being a transgressor.
Mm,
The boundaries of the status quos, even status quos of our own creation, are often the subjects of attack, that the curiosity attacks or maybe undermines is a better way to say that. Do you does that idea of unbounded curiosity, does that interest you? Is that part of this?
I've used the term radical curiosity before. I don't know if I love it because I think radical is coded like politically as a left wing term, and we're a nonpartisan or multi-partisan organization.
Right.
Um, I think there's an interesting paradox though in curiosity as we're talking about it, right? That I'm saying it's bounded insofar as you don't have to change your mind, but it is unbounded in that you can I mean you can think whatever you want to think. You can ask whatever question you want to ask. I think in some sense the hallmark of a free society is that kind of intellectual freedom that can even be expressed to whomever, mostly, wherever, mostly. Um and so there's an interesting kind of double-edged sword to this idea of curiosity, that we don't have to be afraid of its unboundedness, maybe, because maybe people are afraid it's so unbounded I might change my mind on a value that I used to define myself, and that feels scary. But it also, so it doesn't have to feel scary. It can be bounded in that way, but that there isn't actually, like, you can, like, thinking whatever thought you want to think can be a freeing and exciting experience, even if you end up, in the same position that you were, you've still gained something.